Hi, how are you?
Phil, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Persis, nice to meet you.
Awesome.
Cool. Did you find us okay?
I did. I got a little turnaround, but wonderful GPS fixes that. So.
I always rely on that.
So.
How are you today?
Oh, it's a Monday, so anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So. That's,
the case of the Mondays.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. So.
Yeah.
Other than that, everything's fine.
That's good. All right. Well, good. How was your weekend?
It was alright. Nothing too exciting. So I'm currently going back to school at the same time in addition to my full-time job. So it's been a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
Adding that on top of everything else. So.
Right. Is that new? Did you just recently start?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a little bit older than I care to admit. So it's been a long time since I've been a student. So just that anxiety of, oh my God, what's it gonna be like? Everything's online. This isn't how I learned when I was younger.
Right.
Type thing. So
Yeah.
it just adds to it.
Yeah. Well, I am also a little older than I care to admit, and so I could definitely identify. All right. Well, I want to start by, I know you filled out and signed the informed consent,
I did.
but I want to go ahead and go over some highlights of it with you.
Okay.
Of our professional disclosure statement. Confidentiality. Really big thing. Everything you say to me will remain confidential.
Okay.
There's only a few limits to the confidentiality in which I'm required by law. If I feel that you're an imminent danger to yourself or others,
Okay.
or if you report child or elder abuse, if your records are subpoenaed by a court, if information is requested by your insurance company, and if I'm directed by you to disclose information to someone of your choosing. So I think you filled out that form as well with your emergency contact. So again, I want to make sure that you're aware that this may be recorded. This is just for evaluation purposes. And
Okay.
it's okay.
For all
Awesome.
pretty standard.
Yeah. All right. So I have your intake form here. I see that you are feeling anxious and overwhelmed. Can you tell me what brought you here today?
So, me and my husband are going through a rough time and we're separating.
Okay.
And so it's the backtrack that a little bit. Me and my husband have been together for going on 13 years now, ever since I was 21.
Wow. Okay.
And so you can kind of put the math together of how long we've been together, or how old I am, rather. And so we've come to the conclusion that things just aren't the way that they were supposed to be. And while there's not really sadness behind it, but there's more of a just depression, I guess you would say. I think a lot of people confuse sadness and depression. Like, I'm not sad about it. It's just depressing. Like, I've spent so much time with this person that, things just aren't working out. But it also brings in a lot of anxiety as well, because of the fact, like, I've never, what's the right word? I've never adulted on my own.
Okay.
Like, I had an apartment for a year when I was younger.
Right.
But, like, we've always done everything. Like, he always took care of all that stuff. Like, our investments, like, taxes, like, just all the crap that goes into being an adult is just, there's just so much. Like, how am I gonna transition back into being a single life and whatnot? And then, like, I've always tried to kind of, like, handle it on my own. And, I've gone through quite a bit of stuff in my past that I would definitely describe as not easy. And I think that just kind of feeds into a lot of that. I've seen a psychiatrist before,
Okay.
and that's just not a fun experience. you know, the recommendation was, hey, let's put you on this medication, and if that's not working, let's put you on this one. And I had a really bad experience with that, and you know, I was put on Lexapro, and then the psychiatrist, you know, I was still having symptoms of depression and whatnot, and they put me on Wellbutrin as well, and I had a really hard time with that. It kept me up for like 7 days. And it just, I don't know what happened, but it jacked me up so high that it was the most god-awful experience I've ever had in my entire life.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And it's just not something that I ever wanted to go through again.
Right.
So that's why I always kind of try to handle stuff on my own, and it's just, I can get it for a little bit, and then I can't. And it just snowballs into this awful, never-ending spiral. And I'm a recovered alcoholic, so I used to drink my worries away a lot, and I've been to rehab, God, I don't even know how many times. But I've been sober for 5 years.
Well, congratulations, that's
Thank
quite a
you.
feat.
And so I don't want that anxiety and that kind of cycle to interfere with that and then just put me right back where I was.
Right, you don't want it to trigger a relapse.
Right.
Okay. So you mentioned your past, and you mentioned that you have seen a psychiatrist before. Have you seen a therapist before?
I have not.
Okay.
So I kind of thought that they were the same thing, except one gives you pills and the other doesn't. I don't know the difference.
Okay.
So, I mean, I was recommended to a psychiatrist or a doctor, and so that's what I did.
Okay.
So,
Alright. Well, just so you know, well, actually, before I ask that, let me ask you, what do you expect to gain from therapy?
that I don't know, but what I would, well, I guess let me rephrase that. I would like to find a way to combat the cycle of what I've been going through time and time again. And it always feels like I just kind of get it, like I get it, and then it just falls apart.
Okay.
Like I want to be like set up for like, I get it all the time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. So when you mentioned your past, is that anything to do with your family relationships?
Yeah.
Okay.
How much time do you got?
So, as much time as you need. So how would you describe your relationship with your family?
Non-existent, pretty much. My family's pretty jacked up, I would say that, ever since a young age. My mom struggled for many years when I was younger with mental illness. You know, there was constant arguing between, you know, my dad and my mom. My parents ended up divorcing. My dad got a stepmom, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just never been right. Like, it's never been a proper home life. When I came out, well, not when I came out, when I was forced out by my parents, that was definitely a very rude awakening, very traumatic one, I would say. I remember being sat down in the garage after my parents went through my binder and found a whole bunch of notes. And they put two and two together and told me I was going to die a horrible death, I was going to get AIDS. This wasn't the lifestyle of you know, to be desired and everything like that. And ever since then, it's just been a complete, really kind of downward, like there's no relationship or cordial just because of the fact that if somebody passes away, we don't want to feel that.
Right.
So, I mean, it's been that way for, my dad lives in the same city and I haven't seen him for almost a decade.
Okay.
So, and then the state takes care of my mom. So, she's, nobody can get to her without going through security. So,
How so?
she's in prison.
Okay.
So the only person that I really stay in touch with is my sister. And even then, it's a distant, if that's a good word. Like, we obviously care for each other as siblings and whatnot, but it's a more distant relationship than I would imagine that most siblings would have.
So even though it's distant, do you feel like she is like a good part of your support system?
Oh, 1,000%. I would definitely say that. But that's if I went to her.
Right. And I see on your intake form that you, your fears or concerns of counseling is you don't like showing vulnerability. So is that related to that?
Well,
Is that why you wouldn't want to go to her?
And that's just a really hard thing for me to begin with. I mean, after all the stuff that I've kind of been through, I mean, I don't like to show it. And I don't know why.
Right.
I guess it makes me kind of feel like a victim even though I'm not.
Okay.
I maybe that's not the best way to put it. I just don't like people knowing it. It's what my family's done is just it makes me feel ashamed and like I did something when I absolutely had no part to play in it. And it's embarrassing. Like, I don't like people seeing that side of me. I don't like people knowing that side of me. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, of course. So do you feel like that embarrassment is like directly related to why you don't like showing vulnerability?
So I would say yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I think it's completely normal to feel, like you don't want to expose that vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people feel like that. So, I can completely understand that.
Yeah.
Would you say that's a goal that you want to work on? Have you experienced the fear of vulnerability in your like relationships, or would you say that's only related to counseling?
That I would say that's everywhere
Okay.
in my life. I'm always very guarded.
Okay.
Even with my husband. I mean, it was probably one of the reasons why we're separated. But he's a very type A personality. I'm gonna be the best person that I can. There's nothing you can't overcome. There's a solution for everything, and there's not. And when you're with somebody that has that type of mindset, it's very hard to be your authentic self, to show that you want to confide in them, your vulnerabilities, because to them it's not an issue.
Right.
But to you it is a really big issue. So it's almost just like, what's the point?
So you feel like he wouldn't be able to relate to those feelings that you have.
Correct, or even empathize.
Okay.
So, I mean, what's the point of sharing that if you feel like it just won't even be received?
Okay. Well, so you're experiencing.
I'm sorry, I think I didn't answer the question. Yes, it would be something that I would like to work on.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I want us to work together to be able to establish goals for your counseling.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't work well when I do it myself.
Okay. Yeah.
I can kind of get there, like I said, but I can't make it stick, and I can't get all the way there.
Right, you can't maintain it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So how have you been coping with this so far?
Well, I haven't been drinking, so that's good.
That is good. That's
That's now normally my go-to is I just drink myself a good living.
Right.
I'd say work. Working more than probably what I should. Avoidance.
Okay.
But it's at the same time just avoiding but not avoiding. Like there's so much going on in my head. Like how do I grasp it? That it's still there, but I'm just not doing anything about it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you kind of shut down when it comes to
Yes.
it. Okay.
I would say so, yes.
Right. In the past, have you found any coping skills that worked for you? Like meditation, distraction, exercise. Exercise?
Was a very good thing for me.
Okay.
I do like to run, especially when I'm stressed. I probably run more than I should, but no, exercise has been a very good strategy for me. And trying to control what I can and let go what I can't.
Right.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
So finding things that I can have influence on, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So I guess that kind of falls into distraction as well.
Good. Let's see. So, I see that you actually rated quite high, that you like yourself
I do. I think I've worked hard on myself.
and you enjoy spending time alone.
I do. I find a lot of times other people can be exhausted.
Well,
And
that's
it's weird. Like I like spending time with people, but I don't. Like I can have a set limit.
like a certain extent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Let's see. So you've been sober for 5 years?
Yes. Bye.
That's quite an accomplishment. I applaud you. for
Thank
it.
you.
You're welcome.
It only took like 10 times.
I guess let's just go ahead and discuss. I want to let you know like my approach to therapy
Okay.
and counseling. So I like to follow a humanistic and person-centered therapy,
Okay.
which also person-centered therapy also means client-led.
Okay.
So I follow the pace that you are comfortable with.
So you're not gonna shove me off a ledge.
No.
Okay.
So, I'm not gonna pressure you into, doing something before you're ready, because like I might give you like homework assignments.
Mhm.
I would never give you one that's, you're not prepared for.
And that's what I mean. Like you're not gonna just like open up like this. Hello, here's your brick wall that's just been destroyed. Now, have fun.
Yes,
Okay.
I will not do that. And I also like client-led therapy because you get to basically determine your own goals. I can make suggestions based off of what you've told me, and kind of like what you've shared and what I've inferred from that, but you are the one that ultimately gets to decide where the direction of therapy is going and the goals that you want to achieve.
Okay.
So, based on that, I wanted to go ahead and tell you kind of what I feel could be some of the goals that we can work towards. So I know we already agreed on reducing vulnerability.
Mhm.
I also feel like we could identify more coping skills for you
Okay.
other than exercise. That's a great one to have, but like it's always good to have a lot of tools that you could, you know, use when needed
Okay.
in order to help with your like anxiety and depression and things like that.
Okay.
Is that something that you feel like would be a good goal?
I think that's good.
Okay. And also to reduce your level of anxiety. It's, you know, it sounds like, you know, you have some anxiety in the past and you have some now and you're just feeling really overwhelmed. And so I would like to be able to, you know, try to improve, you know, your symptoms of anxiety.
Okay.
Is that something you would agree with as well?
That sounds the best to me. I don't like taking meds. So, like, that was always the solution before. It's here's a pill.
Right.
Let's fix you with that. And it's not fixing the problem. Yeah, it's a great, reduce anxiety away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not fixing the overall
So
anxiety.
you
And it
kind of
just
feel
builds-
like medication is like a Band-Aid and
Yes.
you kind of want to like get to the root of it
Yes.
so that you don't need it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's great. I mean, I definitely think that those are things that we can work on and, you know, try to achieve.
Okay. As long as it's not the whole brick wall at once.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I follow your pace.
Okay. Well, then I'm good with that.
Okay. Well, that's great to hear.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time today.
Of
So
course.
I'm going to head on out to work.
All
So then I guess I'll just make an appointment with your receptionist.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Next week.
Oh, yeah, sounds good.
All right. Great.
All right. Thank you.
All right. It was really nice to meet you, Paul.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, great. I